Anthony Sowell, the Cleveland Strangler. As Sowell tells it in a psych evaluation from 2005, he had an average childhood, free of neglect and violence. Later, he went on to receive a GED since he failed to graduate from high school. From there, Sowell went on to join the United States Marine Corps in 1978, where he met and married a fellow Marine in 1981, the pair divorcing 4 short years later in 1985. That year, he was honorably discharged after earning several awards, including a Good Conduct Medal with 1 service star, a Sea Service Deployment Ribbon, a Certificate of Commendation, a Meritorious Mass, and 2 letters of appreciation. Sowell's military experience consisted mainly of electrical work, so he utilized this skill after discharge, completing electrical work and other odd jobs to support himself. However, Sowell did not stay out of trouble for long after his discharge. And in 1989, a woman who was 3 months pregnant visited Sowell's home voluntarily, and when she tried to leave, he restrained her. He bound her hands and feet with a tie and belt, then gagged her with a rag. The woman managed to escape and report the incident, sending Sowell to prison for 15 years, not to be released until 2005. After his release, he began dating the mayor's niece, Lori Frazier, who began to notice an unsettling scent about his house. In the beginning, he blamed the scent on his stepmother, yet even when she was not there, the odor lurked. Soon, many neighbors complained about the strange and horrid scent as well. However, he turned to blaming it on the sausage shop next door. Even after $30,000 in renovations to the sausage shop, the stench still lingered.
On October 29, 2009, police arrived at the Sowell residence to arrest him for a rape charge, but upon entering his house, they found a much more gruesome sight than expected. Upon opening the door, the police were first hit with the same very foul stench that had put the nearby sausage shop through so much trouble. Progressing onto the 3rd floor, the police discovered a truly horrible sight. There, Sowell spent most of his time next to the room where he slept at night. Police found 4 bodies in different stages of decomposition, simply laying in the sitting room. These bodies were later identified as Josina Culver, Nancy Cobbs, Diane Turner, and Talisa Fortson. Another body was found under a small layer of soil in the crawl space of his basement, a nearby bucket containing the head of another victim. These corpses were later identified as LaShanya Long and Janice Webb. After completing a grid search in the backyard, police later found the bodies of Crystal Dozier, Michelle Mason, Turner Carmichael, Imelda Hunter, and Kim Yvette Smith, bringing the total to 11 victims. All of these victims were African American women whose ages ranged from 25 to 53 years old, and they led troubled lifestyles. Some of their families didn't even report them missing until after their bodies were found because it was common for some of them to go missing for long periods of time. The first victim to be murdered had been Crystal Dozier, who had been missing for 2.5 years when she was 35 years old, until she was dug up by investigators. The second victim was Josina Culver, a troubled 33-year-old who drifted in and out of her family's lives so often they didn't feel the need to report her missing. The youngest victim, 25-year-old LaShanya Long, had 3 children by the age of 17 and was deemed unfit to raise them. The fourth victim, 45-year-old Michelle Mason, was a recovered drug addict and a single mother. Her family was surprised when her body was found in the house. The oldest victim, 53-year-old Tonya Carmichael, was the first to be identified and had been missing for a year before being found, and her family reported that her life had gone off the rails long before her death. The next victim, 43-year-old Nancy Cobbs, had an addiction to drugs, was in and out of jail, and was a mother of 3. The seventh victim was Imelda Hunter, age 47. She was described as a bookworm and became a single mother at the age of 14. She unfortunately gave in to drugs soon after, becoming a mother. Murdered in June of 2009, Talisa Fortune was a 31-year-old mother of three who had a tough childhood, as her mother was a drug addict and her father was an alcoholic. The victim Sowell next lured into his home was 49-year-old Janice Webb. She had addiction to drugs, but she loved being with her family, according to her family members. 10th victim, 44-year-old Kim Smith, was the only victim of the 11 that was not a mother. The last victim was 33-year-old Diane Turner. She took the longest to identify due to her tattered family ties. Taking advantage of the victim's lifestyle, Sowell lured his victim back to his place with promises of cocaine. However, upon arrival, Sowell bound and whipped each woman before raping and killing them by strangulation, effectively coining himself the nickname the Cleveland Strangler.
But what led Sowell to committing these terrible crimes? Was it the breakup he had with a previous girlfriend in 2007, the same year he murdered the first victim? Or does the true reason lie in his warped childhood? Due to testimony of his niece, Leona Davis, a twisted picture of Sowell's childhood begins to form. When their own mother passed away, his niece testified that Sowell's mother, Garrison, subjected the siblings to physical abuse while her own children watched from nearby rooms. In one incident, Garrison forced the girl to strip naked in front of the other children, then proceeded to whip her with electrical cords until she bled, just as Sowell would later torture his victims.
Just our arms tied up. On our, so you can't get her loose.
Are you tied to the banister?
Yes.
What would she beat you with?
Extension cords.
Sowell himself began raping his niece on an almost daily basis for 2 years, starting when she was 10 and he was only 11.
Well, Anthony would make me go upstairs and take my clothes off. And if I refused, we would go down in the kitchen, and my brothers and sisters would be in the kitchen while me and him be down there fighting. And then I'd give up because I got tired of fighting. I would go upstairs and have sex with him.
Did he have a chance to grow up with his morals unwarped? The psychologist on his case, Dr. James Knoll, testified that the very true nature of the crimes he committed required cognitive function. It's my opinion with reasonable medical certainty that there is no evidence that any cognitive disorder played a role in Mr. Sowell's offenses. Though he pleaded not guilty by reasons of insanity early on, he later changed his plea to simply not guilty. On July 22, 2011, Sowell was convicted on all but 2 counts against him, including the murders of 11 women whose bodies were found in his house in 2009.
The court finds that the aggravating circumstances outweigh the mitigating factors beyond a reasonable doubt, and therefore finds that the sentence of death shall be imposed upon the defendant, Anthony Sowell.
Since September 14, 2011, Sowell has resided on death row at Chillicothe Correctional Institution. After Sowell's conviction in December 2011, Sowell's former residence at 12205 Imperial Avenue was demolished on the order of city leaders.
Tear down! Tear down! Tear down! Tear down! Tear down! Tear
The heinous crimes of Anthony Sowell left scars on the community. Yet through remembering the lives of the victims and working on improving the police protocols, they have grown stronger together and ultimately prevailed.